Welcome to And Yet. This is our whole brain living series, and this is session 2. If you remember from the first session, we are doing the book by Jill Bolte Taylor. She is the brain researcher that had the stroke. And this is called Whole Brain Living, The Anatomy of Choice and the 4 Characters That Drive Your Life. Now, if you remember from last session, we were talking all about our first 2 left brain characters. So we have a left thinking brain, character 1. We have a left feeling brain, character 2. But we also have a right thinking brain, which is our character 4, and our right feeling brain, which is character 3. And that's what we're going to be looking at today. Our character 3 is that part of us that loves to play, that loves to have fun, and deals with the here and now and our gut instincts. So the difference between our feeling characters, what happens is that you get information that comes in and it goes either to your left feeling part of your brain, which is your character 2, that you remember goes ahead and processes everything based on what has happened in the past, and then it fears what could happen in the future. Now, our character 3 gets that same information, but what it does is it takes a look at it only in the present moment. And what happens is with that is that sense of the present moment is also connected to our character 4, and that is our divine connection. That's the God within us. That's the Holy Spirit. That's the intuition. Anything that you want to, kind of call it. People are looking for ways to do that. But that sense of divinity within us and how we connect with God and how God uses us to connect with others. So this happens through our right brain. This also means that this is where we are never alone. Because our right brain is always connected to everybody and everything, there is a sense that we are never alone. And again, this is where we experience gratitude and joy. And you remember from the last session, there's a difference between happiness and joy. Happiness is all based on external. Joy is something that is more general. It's a general sense and a general feeling. So, the issue is that this world of our right brain characters, are based on kind of perception and intuition. This is often minimized and invalidated by the left brain, and we'll talk more about this later. You remember our left brains are linear, and if our right brains aren't linear, our left brains are not going to go ahead and take a look at this. So that's why people that are extremely, very strong left-brained, whether they are hard or soft, left-brain characters will often not even believe that there is this sense of intuition and this sense of connection to God that we get in our right brains. One of the things with this that you can see a difference is people that see that everything is just coincidences versus God moments. A person that would see things more as always just a coincidence is a very left-brained, strongly left-brained person, and is not taking a look at what's going on in their right brain. An example of this would be many, many years ago, I met Brianna, our daughter, when she was in the womb, and I didn't even know it. We were at St. James Hotel having lunch, and this beautiful young woman who was pregnant was our hostess, and there was something about her that felt weird to me. I had a strange gut intuition. Did not know what that was until months later when I found out that I had met my daughter, Brianna, in her birth mother's womb. So the other thing that I think is interesting about this, guys, is that just because our left brain has an opinion about something, it doesn't make it true. We think that what we think in our left brain is reality, and it really isn't. It's just a thought. So put that in perspective when you're arguing with somebody over anything, because most of the time, what we are thinking is not necessarily reality. It is definitely just a thought, and it's an opinion. All right. Our character 3 loves being in this world and in our bodies and experiencing, feeling the sun on your skin, being active, doing different things, moving around, taking walks. It is that big kid part of our brain that never grows up. We can definitely squash our character 3 so much so that we may not even recognize it. But the truth of it is that it's that part of us that experiences and enjoys and has deep gratitude for life. It also sees possibilities. And our character 3 can be very witty and very hilarious. So they're going to see things as much more expansive than what our left brain does. However, our character 3 is not an intellectual. So we're experiencing having fun doing that in our character 3s. So what you should start seeing by now is that we have to use all of our characters. And can you imagine if you would take a strong yet soft character 1 who organizes, who can put things together, can do that, that also allows their very fun, open, creative character 3 to be involved in different activities or things that need to be done. You're going to have a very creative yet efficient type of person. So there is, of course, a downside. With every up there is a down. Our character 3 can get us into some serious trouble, because that's where our character 3s will act impulsively. It will, those are those times when you go, what was I thinking? Why did I do that? Why did I say that? Well, it was because you were just going off of what was going on with your character 3. So your character 3 likes to be compulsive and do things their own way. It's very much of, okay, let's act first, and then we'll hope it all goes well. We'll just do this. This will work. This will be fine. And it's very easy to see people that spend a lot of time being their character 3, and it can get you into an awful lot of trouble as well. Here's a quote by Mark Twain that definitely is what our character 3 is like. There are things that you can learn by carrying a cat by the tail that you can learn no other way. That is definitely moving in our character 3s. Okay, here's a snapshot. Our character 3 is extremely forgiving because they are interested in the present moment. They are interested in that gut feeling of peace and connection. So they really want to reconnect with people at a heart level. So they're going to be very forgiving. Our character 3s are the ones that are awe-inspired. It's the times that you see the sunset, that you see the sunrise, that you see the ocean, and it's kind of like, this is so amazing. And this is so wonderful, and there's so many possibilities here. Our character 3s are also very playful. They're also very radiating life in the moment, very, very exciting. I got to tell you, I have spent a lot of time squashing my character 3, especially in certain situations. And unfortunately, I have done that, enough even at home with Todd. So much so that I the other day, when it was super, super cold out, I went ahead and said to Todd that I thought we needed to move all of the barn animals into the garage. And I may have told you this story before, but you know what? It just goes to show that Todd looked at me seriously, like he really thought I was serious and didn't realize that I was kidding. So it is a good example of how you end up, kind of squashing that playfulness in your life. Character 3s are very empathic. they can actually feel other people's joy as well as their pain. And we all have this skill. We may not use it, we may not, try to practice with it, but they are very, very empathic, very willing there to be with people when they are either hurting or in having extreme joyous situations. Character threes are very creative. They love to create and to do things and put different things together and can see those possibilities. Your character three is extremely joyful. Just want to laugh and want to play. Curious. All right. Character threes are curious about everything and they love to learn. You know what? Because you're even watching this video, you are using your character three because you are curious. You're interested in learning and exploring and trying that. Character threes have a very different sense of style. Bree was over last night and we were talking about this because Bree can be a very strong character three. She uses her other characters as well, but she really is a strong character three, and that sense of style is very different. Because Bree likes to dress in clothes that are very comfortable. So she will often ask, it's okay if I just come in my comfy clothes? And I'll say, sure. Well, she'll come in some big oversized plaid shirt that's maybe purple and then have leggings on that have great big multicolored hearts on them and orange socks with some character because they are all her comfy clothes. And it's an attitude of matching. What do you mean matching? I'm wearing comfy clothes. She's been like this since she was a kid. Character threes are very, very hopeful. They really elude that sense. You have that sense. You feel this when you're character three, that everything is going to be okay, that you're not alone, that you're going to have somebody else's back, somebody else is going to have your back, and it's going to be fine. And then again, character threes are very experiential. It's listening to your gut and your intuition. It's not listening to your words. It's not listening to your whining character two. It is definitely a gut feeling. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we move into the brain huddle. But do you recognize your character three? Who is it that your character three really is? Can you tell when you're there and you're playful or you're awestruck? What does it feel like inside of your body? Because your character three is very experiential, you're going to feel it. You're going to feel it in your gut. You're going to feel it in your heart. You're going to feel this sense of kind of radiating warmth. And then how much time do you let this character run your life? And under what circumstance? And then do you have a name for your character three? Can you picture him or her? What is it that your character three kind of is or looks like and feels like in your body? And then who are some of the other character threes that you may know? Have they affected you positively or negatively? And who is it that wants to hang out with your character three? And what are those relationships like? I can guarantee you that if you get in touch with your character three and start to use your character three more, your relationships with other people are going to be a lot more fun. Again, if you're stuck in a character two, people aren't going to want to be hanging around with you. So what kind of a parent, partner, or friend is your character three? What's that character three really like? And I want you to make sure that you spend some time thinking about this because otherwise you're not going to be able to really use this. So our character fours are very different. Remember when I've asked, are you a body with a soul or a soul with a body? If you are into your right brain, you realize that you are truly who you really are is a soul with a body. And that means that you understand that that's where you've come from, that's where you will go to. Our right thinking brain shares it with all other life and every other person. There's a connection there. All right. You do not see yourself on a hierarchy. There's no judgment in your right brain. I can go ahead and look at the sparrows out on my deck right now and can feel the connection in them that isn't, it feels like we are all on the same level. All right. And it's a sense of that God's energy filling up our entire being and everything else. Again, our character 4, it's really hard to put it into words because it is definitely an experiential gut feeling. It's that sense of a river of peace that flows through your veins when you felt that real sense of peacefulness. Another example I've used is like, on Easter Sunday, at Augustana, when everybody gets in there, everybody's smiling, they're looking at each other, there's this sense of connection, and the choir sings, and it feels like your heart just kind of swells and opens up. That's your character 4. That's your getting connection with everybody else around you, and also with God. This is the intelligence. This is the being. This is God from which we came. She had a very interesting example of how we came about to be. As a fetus in our mother's wombs, we did not have a left brain. Our left brain was not organizing, because you remember our left brain is what understands separation. So we grow into learning our left brain, and it's linear. So what was keeping us alive? Who were we? What were we? We were our right brain. We were our character 3. We were our character 4. We were the indwelling of God. So this is really who we are. This sense of energy, if you want to call it that, because through science they know we're all energy. But this is the original consciousness that we were born with. This is that connection with God that never leaves us, that we will return to, and that is present with us at all times. This is also that portion of our brain that does not judge. And we know no matter what is happening in our world or what is happening in our circumstances, that we are okay, that we are perfect, that we are good, that we are whole, that we are beautiful, and that we are loved unconditionally. And because we can also love unconditionally and feel that love, then we can do that with other people as well. So we have never left this energy. We have never left. Our separation from God has been our ignorance. It is our ignoring what we once knew. This is why so many theologians are talking a lot about unlearning and getting to this sense of what that connection with God really feels like. It says in the Bible that, you're going to go to heaven based on what you see as a child. Okay? A child is the one that is operating on this right brain. Okay? It's the one that is seeing the world through a whole different set of eyes than the way we see it. It is this part that we connect and share with God. It can be called the mystic self, and people get really worried about that word mystic. And if mystic feels weird to you, you're thinking about it in your left brain. Mystic means nothing more than seeing God in your daily life, connecting with God, understanding that there is a connection in ourselves with God and the divinity. And yes, it is more than just going to church on Sunday mornings and reading the Bible and learning theology and all of that. And all of those things are good things. We need all of those things, and they're important. But it doesn't stop there. We really need, if we want to grow in our faith, to be able to move into our mystic selves. Okay, there's a lot of judgment about what goes on in our character 3 and 4, especially from our character 1s, because what happens is our character 1s see everything as linear. All right, and our right brain isn't linear, and of course our character 1s are very judgmental. So anything that's unknown or is mystical is just kind of seen as woo-woo. It can even be seen as bad and dangerous and evil and the devil. And we've talked about this in our faith formation. Part of the problem with that is because our scientific method of seeing what reality is totally based on linear thinking. So, of course, we've come up with the idea that science and spirituality cannot mix. Well, they're doing a lot more research on that and finding that that isn't true. I've never felt that that was true ever in my gut. But there is a book that I haven't picked up yet that she said was very good, and it's two scientists that did research, and I think the name of the book is something like Why Doesn't God Go Away? And what they did was they did research on monks and nuns during like their contemplative prayers, and had were tracking what was going on in their brains and their brain waves and what was happening, and they were thinking something new was going to be coming in, but actually what it was is they were able to shut down their left brains. They were able to shut down that monkey mind that kept making lists and doing that, or complaining or saying this isn't working. They were able to shut that down, and that's what they were finding. So I'm anxious to pick up that book and see what's going on with that. But like God, it requires a leap of faith to believe that we have this portion in ourselves that is more intuitive, that is more mystic. And so when you look at that, our sense of religion is a function of our left brain. All right? Religion is all based on language, mostly. And it is based on learning, all of the things that I talked about before. Spirituality, on the other hand, is connecting with God, and that happens with the right brain. This ties right in with what we talked about with faith formation, and we'll talk about that in a little while too. But I remember, when I first started at Augustana, so that's coming up on, 38 years or so ago. I think it was in one of the first years. The staff went on a retreat, and if I remember correctly, we went to, I think it was a Quaker, don't quote me on that, worship service. But anyway, it was in a large open space. We sat on hardwood benches, and we got in there and we did nothing but be in silence for a whole hour. Just about drove me nuts. I had no idea. And you walk out of there and you go, boy, they're missing. I mean, they didn't have the music, they didn't have the readings, they didn't have the liturgies, they didn't have any of that. And I remember at the time feeling, you know what, that is just so odd. You know what? I was very judgmental of it. I have come now to see that they have something and understand something that many of us in traditional modern religions. I mean, how often do we spend any time being totally quiet for any length of time in any of our worship kinds of experiences? So again, connecting with our character 4 correlates with the stage 4 faith development that we talked about earlier this fall. That's the one that has unconditional love, that shows that sense of unconditional love, the sense that we are all connected, and what we do affects not only ourselves but everyone else as well. All right. Here's a snapshot of our character 4. Our character 4 is very aware. It's very aware of interconnection of everything. So the sense that I am truly connected to all that there is, and that we can influence one another even though we cannot see it. And you know what? We know this to be true. I mean, have you ever gone into a social situation where there were groups of people, whether it was a meeting at church or whether it was something else, and you can tell right away who is in a bad mood, who's crabby, who's angry, and it kind of permeates the whole feeling? You know what? I can walk into Augustana and feel what the energy feels like at that time. I've had speakers come in and say, this place is spirit-filled. All right, that's what we're talking about. That's where that character 4 comes in, that awareness of what's going on. And it's very expansive. It sees a big picture. There's a lot of possibilities. Okay. A character 4 when you're connected with that, you're not afraid of change. All right. You're not afraid to make changes, try new things, do different things. You're not afraid to just kind of go with the flow. It's an existing in the energy of God. It is that connection when we know that everything is going to be okay and that everything is in God's hands. It's a way of taking a look at surrendering. So, connected with everything and everything that is timelessly happening. I got to tell you, I don't understand the timeless piece and some of the quantum physics that's coming out where, I think eventually people will understand that and that will be more mainstreamed. Right now, I'm not even getting it. But you can feel this connection. I definitely feel this connection when I am in silence. You have to be in silence during meditation, during contemplative prayer, not when you're saying a prayer, not when you are even visualizing. It is a sense of full connection where you almost feel like God's energy is moving through you and into all that is out there. And then you are very accepting. So you can accept life on its own terms. Just what's happening now, whether we like it or not, doesn't make a difference. You feel that peace, that knowing everything is as it should be. This is as it should be. And just think about that. Sometimes some of the terrible things that have happened in your life that at the time you really felt like life was out to get you, then once you've moved past it and you look at it, and it could be years later, you kind of go, that was probably one of the best experiences because it made me think and see and deal with things differently. It made me maybe surrender to God. So it's a question of do you want to be attached to how things you want them to be, or are you willing to be accepting? When you're willing to be accepting and trusting and surrendering, that's when you're connecting with your character 4. So character 4 embraces change. They seize that life is a series of moment by moment changes. That's all it is, and appreciates that. It embraces those changes and is grateful for whatever comes next, even if it is something that you do not want. Character 4s are very authentic. They own their own power and step forward as your best self. This is where your best self comes from. This is where your authentic self comes from because this is where we started. And it's that consciousness of God that flows through me. This is where there's a lot of talk about co-creating with God. Being a co-creator of God. A lot of theologians and writers are talking about this concept now. This is what they're talking about. Getting connected with your character 4 so that your will really is God's will. All right? You really are moving forward. Character 4s are very generous of spirit. They understand that when I give something to somebody else, I'm giving it not only to me, but to everybody and that part of the whole. And when I love you, I accept you as you are. I'm not going to try to change you. I'm not going to try to judge you. I'm going to accept you as you are. And because of that, we all can thrive. Again, this is not a left brain thought process. As you kind of take a look at where we are in our society with our divisiveness, we're not working in our right brains. We are working in our left brains when we hit that. I am clear in my intention to love and to be loved. Okay? Our number one job in life is to love one another. Love, period. Those of you that went through the book Fierce Love with Jackie Lewis, she has moved and is really working in this stage 4, where everything is based on love. And that does not mean that you don't look at or confront things that are not right. I mean, take Jesus, you guys. Jesus never was without love. He always loved unconditionally. But every time we seem to hear him say, so what about this? We think that he's being judgmental. No, that's our issue. He isn't being judgmental. He's just having people look at things a different way. All right. Again, in the Bible, we don't hear his intonation. So I think that's an interesting piece to think about. Intention. Okay, I'm going to set my intention and trust that everything is connected and in the flow. All right, things may not be going exactly the way we want them to be going right now, but you know what? It's connected, it's in the flow, it's in God's hands, and I can find peace in that. Big part with being with your character 4 is that you're going to be willing to be vulnerable. I'm going to let you see who I am, and I'm going to empower you to do the same. If I don't let you see who I am, if I'm going to approach you in a top-down manner, then I'm not going to be able to empower you to do the same. We talked a lot about this when we talked about the 12 steps that Richard Rohr was talking about. He really was talking about the fact that if you cannot get into your right brain characters, you're not going to be authentic and you're not going to handle your addictions. And that most of us, our addiction and our main way of addiction is our way of thinking. We think that our way of thinking is the only right way. All right. So, training ourselves to know our character 4. Tuning into the consciousness of your character 4 is healing, both physically, emotionally, and spiritually. All right? And it is the most powerful tool that we have to de-escalate either other people's pain or ours. All right? You got to remember, all anger is based in fear and pain and all of that. 2 character 2s that are angry and coming at each other are going to resolve nothing. Somebody has to be willing to move into their right brain character 3 and character 4 to be able to help and de-escalate what is going on. We embody this peace when we tune into our consciousness of our character 4. And you, with practice, will be able to do this. But you have to be willing to do it. And your character 1 is not going to want you to do that. So how do you do that? You have to tell your character 1 to shut up, basically. I can't tell you the number of times, Agnes is my name for my character 1, that I may have to tell Agnes, it is time. I understand what you're thinking. I appreciate what you're doing. But right now you need to be quiet because we're not dealing with this right now. And you also cannot think your way into character 4. So it's not like, okay, well, I'm just gonna surrender to God. Okay, Agnes, just do this. You just surrender. You can't do that. You have to feel your way. Remember, she always said we are feeling creatures that think. So you have to be quiet. You have to be silent to be able to move into your right brain. You have to settle the reactivity of your character 2. And you cannot just holler at your character 2. My character 2's name is Pal. I can't holler at Pal and just tell her, you know what, you're behaving immaturely, just stop this. No, I have to really say, okay, Pal, I do feel your pain. I do feel that this is unfair, and I am scared about this. And you know what, and it's okay to whine and be like that. But right now, we're gonna take a look at things a little bit differently. Let's just kind of give you a big hug and put you away for right now. And then we have to distract our focus away from the sensations of character 3s. And we will talk about this a little bit because, when we were talking about mindfulness and meditation, mindfulness portion is the portion that takes a look at concentrating on your breath, on your feelings of what's going on in your body. But to move into character 4, we have to move past that. And that is where you will be dealing with silence. So what she says is to bring to mind the present moment, and then expand your consciousness to embody a deep sense of gratitude. So you would move out of that sense of mindfulness. So when we get into talking about the brain huddle, she talks about breathing. That's bringing ourselves into the present moment. All right, then you have to move past that point. You have to move past that point where you aren't thinking about words or experiencing just feelings. I know this sounds strange, but I do know that you have done it. It's just a matter of acknowledging and figuring that out. And then you can feel your heart expand and connect with the surroundings, just like the example when I was talking about church on Easter Sunday. So, you connect with your character 4 through meditation or contemplative prayer, being in nature. Todd and I were coming back from snowshoeing a week ago, and all of a sudden there was a whole group of low-flying geese that were going to land in the pasture right next to us. You know, we were both in our character 4s because you could almost feel like you were one of the geese. You could feel the wings. You could feel that moving. You could feel that. And there was just this deep sense of peace and gratitude. It's kind of like the whole rest of the world went away. All right. And this sense of peace is not only our future, but it is also our present. And it was our past, because this is where we originated and where we came from. So our character 4 doesn't judge. It simply celebrates the life that it lives. All right? It doesn't judge. It doesn't judge that I'm not getting enough work done now. It doesn't judge that my life isn't the way I really thought it would be. It just simply experiences it and enjoys it. When we recognize and value the thread of God that is in everyone and everything, we open up our hearts and soften the edge of our judgment. If you do not get out of your character 1, you're going to never be able to hit unconditional love and realize that God is in absolutely everyone. So character 4 is grateful for the gift of life. It accepts it where it is. It very much surrenders and delights in the passing of time. It knows that we are love. God is love. We're connected with God. We are love. And when we operate in that way, we're letting God move through us. John 4:24 says, God is spirit, and his worshipers must worship in the spirit and in truth. So if God is spirit, God is right brain. He's not what we think, it is what we feel. And that felt sense is experiential. It's not the feeling that our character 2s have. It is totally different. But if God is spirit and we're going to worship him, we have to worship him in the spirit. Okay, how do you get to know your character 4? Do you recognize your character 4? Have you ever had that sense? Pay attention. I know you have. It's just a matter of getting connected with it and also believing it. And what does it feel like in your body? Like I said, my character 4 feels this great big huge expanse. And it's just, it almost feels like an outpouring of love. And how much time do you let this character run your life, and under what circumstances? When do you use that? And what is an appropriate name for your character 4? Again, I can't tell you, is that God living within us? Is God on the outside of it? You know what? Martin Luther talked about this. And that's one of the mysteries, you know, and I put it up with that, but I do know that there is something it is there, and I can actually feel that sense of God within me. And it's taken a long time and a lot of work and a lot of silence. And to try to recognize what that is. And again, it's always there. And again, I'm not doing it, God's doing it, but I've asked God to help me. So, getting to know your character 4. Who are some of the character 4s in your course of life that have influenced you? Who wants to hang out with your character 4? What kind of a partner, friend Parent is your character 4. I can give you one idea right there. It is unconditionally loving. So when you're judging somebody, you are not using your character 4. Okay, she talks about the brain huddle, and I think this is important because what can happen is as we've talked about this, there's people that are stronger in one character than another, all right? But we all have all of our 4 characters, and we have to use all of them for our best life, for our best whole brain living. So we embody all 4 of our characters, and the more familiar you become with who is who inside of you, and the safer you feel to be able to exhibit them, the more whole-brained your life will become. So you have to acknowledge and feel and sense and let everybody have a say and a piece in what's going on. So here's an example of that. Agnes, my character 1, I can tell when she's working. She's working now as I'm thinking about how do I present this, what examples do I have. She likes to work at my computer and create curriculum, and she really likes making daily lists and schedules and figuring all of those kinds of things out and organizing. Sometimes she even likes to organize closets. Pal, my character 2, definitely shows up in her whiniest form when I am exhausted, when I'm tired or hungry, when I'm feeling pressure, when I've overworked. But I can also feel my character 4 if I'm making a decision and I get this, well, you tried this, remember you tried this before and this did not work. And to pay attention to that, I can then see how maybe the situation could be changed, and then I could try and be able to do that differently. Many times it's very easy to see your character 4 because it is the loudest, whiniest part of your brain. Stace, my character 3, is really present in my playfulness when I really connect and just laugh at my critters. When I'm doing something physical like snowshoeing, swimming in the pool, or when I'm creating a new essential oil product or doing something that is creative and that is just fun. I have to tell you, I often have to tell Agnes, my character 1, to shut down and let me just play and have fun, or just experience and maybe even do nothing. Agnes doesn't like that because she thinks it's important to be productive, which it is, but not at all costs. And then I connect with Precious, is what my name is for my character 4. When I'm out in nature, when I'm really out and I'm experiencing nature, whether I'm on a walk, when I'm seeing the eagles fly by, when I'm actually truly petting and connecting with my animals, and I feel like my heart just goes out to them. Bree is an excellent hugger. When I hug Bree, I can feel my character 4 connecting with her. I can feel my character 4 when I'm meditating. As I move through my meditation process and I do mindfulness and get in touch with the present moment, and then when I let that go, I can have that sense of being connected to absolutely everything around me. And oftentimes then there are things that come into my consciousness that I would not be aware of otherwise. So you and we and me need to create healthy relationships between not only our 4 characters, but as we move forward and see the 4 characters of other people and how we react to them. Again, what we are doing in this society is reacting out of our character 2s, angrily and butting heads and becoming, divisive. That is not going to get us anywhere. So what happens is with this brain huddle, as you kind of remember from last time, talked about the steps of a brain huddle, it helps us take responsibility for who we are. We're just not reacting on automatic. This is where, you prevent the road rage before it happens. You prevent the mean, cruel comment before it happens. So it helps us take responsibility for how we present ourselves to the world, but it also helps us choose how we take in the world. Again, most people run their life on automatic. This is the way I am because this is the way I am. No, you do not have to be stuck in your character twos. You can choose to think, to deal with, to feel, and have different behavior. That is within your power to choose. Okay, here's the benefits of the brain huddle. It gives all characters a chance to be heard, and then the best choices can be made. If you, again, try to not hear or listen to one of or more of the characters, there will be some unhealthiness in you. If you choose not to experience and listen to your emotions and feel those, you will get physically, emotionally, and mentally ill. And then you can see how the 4 characters are playing out in others. So I can choose how to react appropriately so there is a more peaceful resolution. All right. We have this idea that if you back down, if you're angry and you back down, you're a loser. There is nothing that could be more wrong. It takes more courage. It takes more guts. It takes more maturity. It takes more wisdom to move out of your character and to react to a situation differently. So loving people as they are and not needing them to change for us to feel safe is another gift. All right? I don't need you to change your behavior for me to feel safe. So that's a big benefit of the brain huddle. And when we use it for personal reflection, we can also see what changes we might want to make and how we want to maybe connect with others differently. She talked about, even something as simple as when she would get together with her mother, she needed to let her mother be a character 1 and her to be a character 3. Because if she came in as a character 1 with her mother, they would butt heads. And I think sometimes we think that isn't being honest or authentic. Actually, that is, because you are making a choice of who you want to be, how you want to show up, depending upon how somebody else is. And this is actually what allows us to be our best selves. This is how you take responsibility for bringing your energy into the room. All right? If you're going to go into a situation and be hell-bent and angry and the whole works, you're going to change that energy in that whole room. And you can take responsibility for that. And decide not to do that. So what do we do in the brain huddle? The very first thing is you got to push the pause button. You have to breathe. People are talking about breath all the time. We've done a lot of work on breath. You concentrate and focus on your breath. You take an inhale and then you exhale out longer, and you can go ahead and count on that. That's brings you into the present moment. You can do this at any time because it will help you stop that reaction and overreactivity, that knee-jerk kind of reaction. So it really takes a lot of maturity to stop running things on automatic. And as you remember, when you get a feeling of anger, it really only energetically stays in your body for 90 seconds. If it continues there, you're feeding it. And so it gives you an opportunity to make new choices. If you stop that reactivity, you breathe, you may react differently. The other thing that it does is that it can give you a short vacation. Sometimes just taking a breath when you're in the middle of something, you can reflect, see something different. Sometimes you can take that sense of a breath and take a nap or get up and move. I often am setting timers so that I don't sit at my computer for too long of a time because I don't feel very good, and you get to the point where you're not very productive. So the other thing is that focusing on your breath can shift you into your right brain characters, and it can shift you into your character 4, where you feel a sense of gratitude and peace. The next thing, and if you see and remember, this is spelling brain. So R stands for recognize. So when you take a breath, then you need to recognize which of the four characters are in the room. Now, you may, if you're with somebody else, you may want to recognize what characters they have, but also what characters are playing for you. Are you really in your character too, being whiny and complaining or angry and demanding? Here, your character one is always on a get on it and get it done. If you're in a meeting with people and it's just like, will you just please shut up and let's move on? We got to get stuff done. That's your character one talking. Your character two will be talking when it feels hurt or abandoned, or feels like there's, a kind of an, okay, this is happening again. Nobody is listening to me. Poor me. You know what? There is this injustice, blaming. Here's another thing. If you are strongly feeling like you're going to be blaming people or very burdened or whatever, this is your character two. And your character two is really only trying to protect you, and get its needs met. That's what it's trying to do, your character two is. And there's nothing wrong with that, but how you want to react with that. It maybe means that, maybe you got to take a day vacation or go and do something else to take care of the needs of your character too. Your character three is showing up when you're kind of animated and you're bouncy. You may be curious, but the thing you need to remember is that your character three is your gut, intuition, feeling, and it may not always be happy. How many times have you not listened to your gut and you've regretted it? Because usually your character one, who has a really hard time recognizing your character three because it isn't linear, is saying, no, that's not true. No, that's not true. You know what? I have been very, very glad for times when I've listened to my gut, because my gut will say, oh, well, you know what? I've kind of been with this person before. They seem fine. And then all of a sudden my character three is going, no. Take a look at how tense and how angry they are. Take a look at, all of these other things. I think you need to move and get out of this situation. And sometimes it can even be a more serious situation. I averted, when I was young, getting accosted and raped because I had a sense somebody was following me. And so I took off and went into a more populated area. The person that was behind me, the man that was behind me, fortunately fell because he was in dress shoes, and I was able to move away from him. I wouldn't have done that if I would have listened to my character one. And I didn't know what that was talking about then, but all I knew in my gut was that there was danger. And so your character three will also have that. So don't necessarily think of your character three as always just being very happy. But your character four will always have a sense of unconditional love, a calmness, a gratitude, even if things are not exactly the way you want them, sense of openness. So when I recognize the value of my four characters, I don't need anyone outside of me to validate me. Isn't that interesting? When you connect with your character four and you know that you are loved and that God loves you unconditionally, what other validation do you really need? You don't have to prove yourself. You don't have to overwork. You don't have to do. You don't have to say things, just to be seen as powerful. So I know that I am not only worthy of that love, but I know that I am love. And again, that is the bottom line. That's the bottom line of what Jesus was preaching and what he was talking. So to finish with our brain huddle, once we realize what's going on, we got to appreciate. We have to appreciate and respect everything that's going on in our brain, and being able to engage with them. And so when you appreciate and value yourself, you operate from a position of power. When you deny your emotions, there's going to be an internal struggle. you're going to feel discontent. It has been much more helpful for me, especially after working and learning with this material, to pay attention to what Pal is feeling and why Pal is feeling that, and taking a look at where's that coming from? Why am I feeling this way? And then Agnes can get in there and help figure out a way of what it is we may need to do. What do I need to go and spend some more time outside with my animals? Do I need to, do something a little bit differently? Do I need to meditate differently? I can have that choice, but that only happens if I pay attention to what's going on internally. And then we also have to appreciate everybody else's brain characters, so that then we have meaningful connections and to see where they are coming from. The I in brain is inquire. All four characters inquire about the next move. So, as you've kind of paid attention to what's going on in all your four characters, then it's okay. Now let's see how we can solve this. What are we going to do? If you show up as your character one most of the time, this is going to be nearly impossible for you, because you aren't interested in exploring new possibilities. You know what's right. You know what works. It's worked before. That's a character one. And you're not going to look at anything different. If you are curious, if you are inquiring, if you are wondering, what if, then you're engaging your right brain characters 3 and 4. If you do not generally do that, you are not using your whole brain, and you are not making those connections that could be very helpful for you. All right, she told a story of how these four characters worked together that reminded me of something that happened to me a number of years ago. And her story was with a rabbit. Mine ended up was with a deer. They must have been road construction. So I was coming home from work through Hastings area, and it was right before I'd turn off to go to Prescott, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I got a breathtaking, serious, sharp pain in my right chest, down my right arm, to the point that it just made me gasp, and I kind of crunched over, and I'm thinking, am I having a heart attack? And I realized that no, it wasn't, and I looked up, and here on the other side of the road, a deer was hit, and it had hit its chest and its right shoulder. So my character 3, Stace, empathically felt that pain. Now I'm in a whirlwind, because my character 2, Pal's going, oh no, and my character 3 is going, how can I help this animal? What can I do? And I look, and there's traffic. There's no way for me to stop. That's my character 1. Agnes is saying, Stace, you can't stop here. You can't just stop and deal with it. Maybe let's look and see if we can turn around. And then Agnes is looking, and there's no place to pull off the side of the road on the other side. And I take a deep breath, and character 4, Precious, comes in and says, the best thing you can do is to pray and hope for the best, whatever that may be for that animal. And I felt that sense of my heart rushing out to that. Once I got a few miles away, the pain in my chest and my arm went away. But again, it was a way of using your 4 brain characters to figure out what was going to be best in that situation. If I would have just reacted to what my emotional character was saying, I would have slammed on my brakes and probably caused an accident to pull off to the side of the road. All right, so that gives you an idea of how they start to work together. And then, of course, the navigating is just the deciding. Seeing that new reality and being flexible. When you navigate with your 4 brain characters, you have to be flexible, because it depends upon who other characters are coming in the room. And this is when Gandhi said, nobody can hurt me without my permission. This is what he was talking about. He was declaring that his beliefs, his feelings, and everything else was his domain. That's the power of the 4 characters. That's why people that were, in the concentration camps, some of them could come out without being bitter and angry and hatred and everything else. They were able to use the 4 characters basically in their brain and connect with their right brain and God. That's the only way you come out of that without a sense of real hatred and hatred of people. Okay, there's a lot of connections of what we've been learning for quite a few years that deal with this here. So the first one that we just dealt with before is the faith formation and the 4 stages that we did in the fall. The first 3 stages of faith formation, and if you kind of remember those, they all deal with what we normally are used to in religion. Remember, most churches are functioning only in stage 1 and stage 2. And it's a sense of being right, and this is what we believe, period. And also the fact that this is what's successful. And so those first 3 stages in faith formation are all left brain. You don't get to the right brain until you get to stage 4, and that is that sense of unconditional love. And as I said, Jackie Lewis, in her Fierce Love book, definitely has moved into that stage, along with a lot of other authors and theologians. We've talked about dualistic thinking, the idea of either or thinking. Either or thinking is definitely a left brain character 1 type of belief, and also character 2. It is this is right, this is wrong. There's no sense of there's a paradox. There's no sense that there is a mystery that we don't know. So again, if your thinking is very dualistic, you are really caught up only in your left brain. We've tried and have tried to talk for years about what does it mean to surrender to God. For me, learning the stuff on the whole brain and moving into our right brain, that's where surrendering comes for me, is when I can consciously move out of my left brain into my right brain. Then I feel like I am surrendering to God and letting go. We talked again about that whole idea of the Holy Spirit. Where is the Holy Spirit? Is it out there? Is it in there? Is it in our gut? Is it in our heart? Is it in our brain? That sense of intuition, the idea that God is within us. You know what? It's a mystery. It's a mystery, and it's exciting. But I don't think I'm ever going to figure it out, and I guess that's okay. Feeling it is good enough for me. Wonderful quote by Archbishop Desmond Tutu. We are each a God carrier, a tabernacle of the Holy Spirit, indwelt by God the Holy and the Most Blessed Trinity. Indwelt. The same thing that Martin Luther was talking about. We are each a God carrier. Just think about that God is actually within us. And if we unlearn what we've learned this far in our lives, there can be a connection with Him. So, we talked about mindfulness, meditation, and contemplative prayer before. Mindfulness is that part where you take your breath and then you just feel the feelings that are around you, or listening to the sounds that are around you. That's getting into your character 3. Okay, that experiential, that kind of felt sense. Once you get into quietness, contemplative prayer, and true meditation, and you're no longer using words, then you're moving more into your character 4. We just recently have been talking about addiction, and how most of our addictions are based on we're addicted to our way of thinking. What we think is definitely right. And Roar and Jill Bolte Taylor also had a chapter in her book on addiction, and they pretty much were saying the same things. Unless you are able to get in touch with not only what you are feeling, your character 2, but if you cannot move into your right brain, you are going to have problems with addiction, and we all are addicted. Fierce Love, I mentioned a number of times. Jackie Lewis is one that has really moved into right brain thinking and seeing that sense of unconditional love. Again, don't think that you ever get there. It's always a process. You are moving there. And then here is this wonderful quote that Desmond Tutu said to Richard Rohr. He said to Richard, "We are only the light bulbs, and our job is to just remain screwed in." We are only the light bulbs, and our job is just to remain screwed in. So the question is, are you screwed in? Are you screwed into God and your right brain? And how often? All right. That is it on the book. I would suggest that if you are really interested in this, I didn't even begin to cover it all. She has a wonderful chapter on brain development over the generations that was just absolutely fascinating. She again talks more about how it is that our brain characters react with others. She's got a thing on addiction. She's got a thing on how it is we are attracted to certain people. It is just really amazing, and I actually love the Audible book because she is narrating it, and it's just kind of fun. So, you have that option to go ahead and to get and to do that more. Also, you have the option, if you would like to be part of a Zoom discussion that we will be having here at Augustana, or actually I'll be having from my kitchen table at 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. on February 28th. So that is actually a Monday night. And if you would like to be in that Zoom discussion, make sure that you just email me at secardwell@augustana.com, and I will put you on that Zoom list. And again, it's a very casual discussion, but if you have certain questions, certain things that you'd like to talk about, make sure that you write a few notes, and then we can do that. So thank you so much for doing this, and I will see you again in the And Yet videos coming up in March, and they're going to be a little different then. So make sure you take a look at your March newsletter for that. Have a wonderful day, and we will be talking to you soon.